As has been the case for the past decade, Earl Anthony was once again the dominant force as he won over $100,000. But it was also a year in which more new faces than ever before made their way into the winner's circle. Don Janello was part of this new breed. Tom Milton was another. Like Janello, Milton won 2 tournaments as he became the tour's #2 money winner. Finally, on the final Saturday in April, the tour concluded as Joe Berardi won the prestigious Firestone Tournament of Champions. Yes, it was a season of excitement, tension, and drama. And now it's back for 5 more weeks on the Professional Bowlers Spring Tour. Denver, Colorado, where the picturesque Rocky Mountains will provide the setting for one of the tour's oldest stops. On June 4th, we'll travel from the mountains to the dry deserts of Arizona as the pros return to Tucson for the 23rd straight year. The next week, it's on to the West Coast, where the pros will enjoy the sandy beaches that rim the Pacific as they compete in the Southern California Open. On June 18th, it's an off week, but we're back the following Saturday in the great Pacific Northwest to bring you our final tournament, the Seattle Open. So it's 5 more weeks of great tournament action on the Professional Bowlers Spring Tour. In Houston, outside it is stormy, but inside the sprawling Big Texan lanes for the Houston Open, the finals of this event. Delighted to be back where the United States Open was contested in 1981 and 1982. Hello, I'm Chris Schenkel, welcoming you to our 3rd year of Spring Tour telecasts. This is the first of 5, and each of our 5 events have a total purse of $100,000 each. The winner today, $13,000. To talk about the field and everything that's been happening in Houston, I bring in my colleague, Nelson Burton Jr. Bo.
Thank you, Chris.
Has the weather affected bowling?
It has been a stormy week here in Houston. In fact, the power was shut off here in the bowling lanes all day yesterday until about 6 o'clock last evening. The top 24 bowled 16 games, and they came out with a field of 5 as we have today. 3 of those players have never been in the championship round before, and 4 of the players have never won before. Now, the scores were very low this week, and I don't think the weather had that much effect on it. It was just a real tough lane condition. In fact, the 160-man field only averaged 192. But the championship pair is the highest scoring pair we've had all year. Ironically, or luckily enough, the players averaged over 233 for their games on the championship pair.
You mean there's a possibility of a perfect game today?
Well, remember last year when David Houston won the U.S. Open, he averaged 252 on the championship pair, so maybe it'll happen again today.
I hope it happens, Bo. Look forward to your commentary.
All right, partner.
Now, let's meet our 5 finalists here in Houston, Texas. In our first match today, we'll find a part-timer seeking his first tour victory from Rodeo, California, Dean Asami. He'll face another bowler looking for his first visit to the winner's circle. That's Jimmy Pritz Jr. from Lawrence, Massachusetts. The winner of the first match will meet the #3 seeded bowler from Fredericksburg, Virginia, Ray Shackelford. Our #2 seeded bowler is one of the tour's brightest young stars, looking to make his initial breakthrough to the winner's circle. From Lake Tahoe, Nevada, Mark Baker. And our tournament leader in his 2nd straight championship round appearance, seeking his 3rd career victory, the holder of one of the tour's biggest hook balls, from Pompano Beach, Florida, Bob Handley. All right, here at the Big Texan Lanes in Houston, we're ready for that first match. Dean Asami, 34-year-old, 5'7", 135 pounds, will bowl first, and he's going against 24-year-old Jimmy Pritz Jr. of Lawrence, Massachusetts. Dean from Rodeo, California, which is northeast of the San Francisco area. Very precise, very accurate bowler. First match, live from Houston. Well, leaving the 1, 2, 4, 8, Nelson. That's not a good way to start.
Well, Chris, both players making their first appearance in a championship round, and really 2 of the nicest guys that have ever bowled on the Professional Bowlers Tour, Dean Asami and Jimmy Pritz Jr. Nice guys. Unfortunately, one's going to be a winner today, one's going to get beat. Let's see what happens. Spare shot by Asami.
Only winners advance in our format. The sleeper 8-pin, and it's a tough break for Dean, who has an open frame in the very first game. Now, Jimmy Pritz Jr. of Lawrence, Massachusetts. He's won $15,330 this year. First championship round appearance of his career. Beautiful little quick release.
Really a nice tempo, Chris. He needs a little self-confidence, a little more experience, and he's, I think, really going to be one of the top players on the tour in years to come. He's a kind of chunky type fellow, but it's mostly good balanced weight. He has a good leverage and a good arm swing.
Well, here again we get the perfect visual picture of people all sizes, all ages can bowl and have fun.
Very true.
Well, a tough break, leaving the 10-pin on the left lane.
Jimmy coming in from that extreme outside line. Normally, he'll carry the 10-pin on that hit as he switches to a harder ball, Chris, for the spare.
Jimmy the third was born this week, so we congratulate this father going to the line. And we won't congratulate him on that shot.
As oftentimes happens when a player changes balls. Now, he went to a harder ball that can make it slide a little farther down the lane, but the grip, he lost it on the downswing, slides by the 10-pin. The match is wide open. Right now, Asami leads by 1 pin, second frame.
He's on the right lane now. And Dean gets a high hit, leaving the 3-6-10.
Asami has to stay down with the shot. He raised up on that shot, pulled it right through the nose, has left himself another fairly difficult spare. He had the 1-2-4-8, the first frame, now the 3-6-10 on the right-hand lane.
Dean owns 2 pro shops in San Francisco and in Pendle, California. And we're having some inaccuracy here in our very first game. But as Bo pointed out, there is tremendous pressure for these 2 first-timers on TV.
Across the center of the lane, and the ball just does not bite. The condition is not that slick. By that I mean you can get a pretty good hook if you stay with the ball and get leverage on it. If you raise up, it'll slide by. Let's see what Asami can do here in the third.
Just slid by. Light hit, leaving the 2-4-5.
As we've seen in many rookies or first-time players in the championship round, they just don't take their time. A little more experience, they'll take their time, set themselves on their strike shot and their spare shot. Asami, when he was qualifying for the top 5, was taking plenty of time, a lot of concentration. He's a little too quick right now.
He was pleased. He was pleased with covering the 2-4-5, and rightfully so. 11-pin lead by Jimmy Pritz of Lawrence, Massachusetts. A West Coast bowler, and now from the East Coast, Jimmy Pritz, 5'8", 189. Let's look at a profile of Jimmy Pritz.
Jimmy with a real nice style, 5-step delivery, just 5 methodical steps, each one a little longer than the next one, with a real long slide, reminiscent of the Billy Hardwick, who dominated the tour in the 60s, about a 2.5-foot, 3-foot slide. He releases the ball in the slide, a good delivery.
Kenny double, first strike coming in the 3rd frame. All right, showing some consistency now, Jimmy Pritz, with a double, striking in frames 3 and 4, and he now has a 21-pin lead. As we're going to take a break here in Houston, we'll be back with more action in the Houston Open following this. Big Texan Lanes in Houston. This is our first of 5 Spring Tour telecasts. We're happy you joined us. Dean Asami of Rodeo, California, trailing by 21. Spare up, shooting in the 4th frame. Well, we thought he'd get his first strike on that shot, but he left the 10-pin. We are experiencing, Bo, some distorted audio on the network, and that's not surprising because of the weather here. Golly, I almost didn't want to come to the lanes because of this tornado warnings that were issued. And looking at his hand, he felt it got away from him, and of course it did the result disastrous. Earlier we asked Dean Asami how he got started in the sport of bowling.
Well, I started bowling at the age of 8 And my mother got me into bowling. She was actually the biggest influence in my bowling career. She was quite a bowler herself during the late 50s and early 60s. In fact, she and Helen Duval won the a national doubles title back in 1961. She's not only a great bowler, but a great person.
And a great shot there as he just rips the 5 out, Chris. We alluded to his mother, just a sweetheart. Nobu Asami got Dean started, and still one of the really good bowlers at the age of 64. Still averages better than 190.
I can see Nobu coming out of her chair on that strike. Oh, and even though that was a tremendously high hit, Jimmy Pritz of Massachusetts has strung 3 now in our first match.
Jimmy Pritz has a really nice, what we call loose ball on the tour, Chris. He's so relaxed. Watch the 2-pin, go to the sideboard, trip out the 4-7. He did it in the 3rd. He did it again in the 5th. He now has a 43-pin lead through 5, 3-bagger working.
Very confident 24-year-old professional. That time the high hit caused him this. Look at it, the 4, 6, 7, 10.
Right through the heart. He has to keep his speed up. That extreme outside line, 3-pound, 5-ounce pins, no contest for a bowling ball right in the nose. He should go for just 2 pins right here to keep his lead, but he'll still be cut into. Woo! Nice try.
Yes. That's 3. You see that 7 go out at the last moment. So it's his second open frame in this first match. Sami trailing by 27, but he has a strike up, so he can narrow the margin now with a strike in the 6th frame. The 4.
Dean Asami playing right down the 2nd arrow or the 10th board on the lane. Doesn't throw much hook. He tries to keep it in play. As you see, a very nice style for a man 135 pounds, 5-step delivery, shoulder position, very good. He keeps it right in line with his target, good knee bend, and he stayed down with that shot. He just missed his spot.
So the part-time player in the last 7 years, bowling no more than 3 tournaments in any year. Still trailing by 27, now shooting in the 7th frame. In our usual format, this being the first of 5 spring tour events, head-to-head competition, step-ladder approach, the winner advances. Tough break, the 10.
Just not quite solid in the pocket. And once again, he leaves the soft 10. Now in the 4th frame on the right-hand lane, he left the same shot, and he slid by in the right-hand channel. Dean, from lack of experience, didn't practice many spares before he went on the air and in the championship round today. Let's see if he can get straightened out, go straight at the 10-pin, and stay within 27.
All right, marking with a spare. The winner of this game will face Ray Shackelford a little bit later. Going to leave live action for a moment here in the $100,000 Houston Open, live, but we'll return. 4-year-old professional from Rodeo, California. While we're away, he just marked with a strike in the 8th frame, and prior to that, his opponent, Jimmy Pritz, in the 7th and 8th with strikes. So he has a double up. Now in the foundation 9th, Asami.
Chris Asami trailing by 38 pins, has a possible 194 if he can strike again in the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Jimmy Pritz going at a 2:02 pace. So right now, Asami's in a must situation.
There you see his yearly earnings, $885, but we should point out a part-time bowler. Dean Asami doubling late here in the game. Now trailing by 28 pins. His opponent, Jimmy Pritz Jr.
Pritz in a situation where if he marks in the 9th and 10th frame, he wins the match. If he strikes here, he puts Asami on the ropes. But if he opens, he falls behind.
On the right lane, a 10-pin.
From that extreme outside line, Jimmy Pritz has a good carrying ball, but he's left the soft 10 twice. If he converts his spare, he'll have a 27-pin lead. Remember, he slid by the spare in the 2nd frame. Let's see what happens in the 9th.
Gets it. Here in the month of May, lots of excitement. ABC Sports.
Jimmy Pritz in a mark situation. If he marks in the 10th, strike or spare, he wins the match.
All right. Just like that with one big shot. And did he ever stick at the line? Almost went over the line.
But he got the ball way out to the right. That's the most important thing. Every time he's laid the ball short and not lofted it, the ball's run high on him. Chris, he sent the ball wide, got a good loft. He's in excellent position. One more strike, he'll be in the 2 teams.
Just like that, Jimmy Pritz Jr. will go against Ray Shackelford. Here in Houston, let's pause to hear from some of the sponsors of the Professional Bowlers Spring Tour. Here in the Houston Open, in the 100,000 total, 13 to the winner, 7,500 second, 55 third, 4,500 fourth, 4,000 for fifth. Coming up next, Jimmy Pritz versus Ray Shackelford. The Professional Bowlers Spring Tour will continue after this message from one of our sponsors on Station ID. Ah, yes, Houston, Texas. Live from Houston, Texas, the Professional Bowlers Spring Tour. That's right, as we now move into the second match, and by virtue of a 210-160 victory over Dean Asami, Jimmy Pritz Jr. now faces Ray Shackelford, 6'1" professional from Fredericksburg, Virginia. Pritz shooting first. He had 8 strikes in his victory. A 4-pin.
Jimmy, with that quick pace to the line, is a very good bowler, especially when he gets loose, Chris. He has a nice, relaxed ball. Remember how Houston tore apart 4 opponents here on this championship here last year? Pritz could get it going. A lot of strikes from that outside line.
Finished 4th in the field here. And that's the least he can do today, but he's bowling well, marking with a spare. There you see Pritz's score over Dean Asami. 210 to 160 Asami, winning $4,000. We hope to see him again, a delightful guy. Now, Shackelford. Well done. The throw from Fredericksburg, Virginia.
Both players using urethane balls today, and Ray Shackelford, who had made our championship round, Chris, in the Fairlanes Open in Baltimore, Washington area, bowled a dismal 179. He felt he had a little extra experience today. He said he can rectify some of the mistakes he made then. He's ready to win.
A former Air Force sergeant. And he has a double. Ray Shackelford, who really reacts to the good things that happen on the lane. Pete Couture, you see him there just clapping his hands. He had the high game of the week of 290. And now Pritz is back up, marking with a spare, shooting in the second frame, down by 10 pins. He thought he had all of them.
The first solid tap of the day. Jimmy Pritz solid in the pocket, drives the 6 right around the 10. Once again, he picks up the harder bowling ball to go across lane and hopefully slide it right into the 10 pin. He's right in the pocket. In fact, he only missed the pocket once the first game. He had a 6 count, and all the rest of them were in the pocket.
All right, and he is back with another spare. Earlier, we talked with him about a new addition to his family.
Well, Thursday afternoon, my wife had a baby boy, and I was just so happy that when I came out in the finals, I had no pressure. You know, I had almost everything. I do have everything I wanted in the world. That's a fine wife and two children, a boy and a girl, and that's what makes me happy right now. And maybe, Lord willing, I could win this tournament.
The voice of that man, Jimmy Pritz.
And we also have to congratulate his wife, Joanne, who
Yes.
was instrumental in that new birth.
Takes 2 to tango, Bo.
Double wood, 2-8, Jimmy Pritz. We've seen the center of the lane a little bit on the slick side. Let's see if he gets up to the spare.
That sleeper 8. So often has caused many of our viewers problems, I'm sure, you league bowlers.
We saw Sami slide by a couple of spares in the first match. Once again, Jimmy Pritz is a good spare shooter, doesn't adjust for the slickness in the center lane. He leaves the 8 pin. The door is wide open for Ray Shackelford, leading by 24.
Double up third frame. High hit, and he left the 3.
The one thing Ray Shackelford has to guard against is speed control variation. He throws too hard sometimes, then too slow. That shot was too slow, as he also picks up the hard ball to go for an easy spare.
Ray Shackelford and his wife Susan have one son named Shannon. And he was in Baltimore, and we didn't get him on camera, so his dad wanted to be sure and say hello to Shannon today. Back in Fredericksburg, Virginia. 195-pounder. Third strike in 4 frames for this man who wants a victory for several reasons. One meaning that he would have an exemption from the Rapid Squad for a year and a spot in the '84 Firestone Tournament of Champions. We're going to take a break now as we're in our second match. More action following this.
Matchup. 2 teams coming off bitter defeat.
And Jimmy Pritz wanted them all at that spot because he's bowling against Ray Shackelford.
The solid 10. You see the 6 pin right here. The ball into the pocket. The 6 will go right to the sideboard and not knock the 10 out. Watch it. It never touches the ground. Here's the ball. Watch the 2nd pin. Boom.
All right.
Pritz, who is solid in the pocket every frame but 2 times, once in the 3rd frame this match, once in the 6th frame of the first match, is increasing his speed a little bit, Chris, and he's got to watch it. He doesn't slide by as he did in the 3rd and leave another double with 2-8.
Almost crossing over, leaving the 6-10 on the left lane. We're in our second match. Pritz winning the first 210 to 160 over Asami.
Rushing the line, pulling the ball, actually adjusting for that wide shot in the 3rd, up high, 610, across lane. This is where he can use the speed to avoid the chop, but don't send it too wide again.
All right, we're at the Houston Open in our second match. And these were the professional bowlers that led the rounds. George Pappas, Steve Ray. Bob Handley is our tournament leader, cranking Bob Handley.
42 games since this week-long competition. Shackelford in the driver's seat in this match, though.
All right, giving him a double. That strike coming in the 5th frame, increasing his lead to 35 pins. And, I was delighted to see that you competed in this championship this week.
Chris, the spring tour offers a lot of money. A lot of the top stars will be out, and $100,000 a week, it's very tough to pass up that good money like that. A strong field.
Joe Berardi, who's scoring for us today, finished 25th. Gary Dickinson, 27th. Contreras, 32nd. Pete Weber, 33rd. Mike Albee, 41st. Look at that, sweeping them off the deck. He is fired up, this man from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and Earl Anthony, Marshall Holman, Tom Baker, Mark Wild, Tom Milton, and Mike Durbin were absent from this tournament.
Well, it's a shame, but the competition's just as good as ever. Shackelford right in the driver's seat right now. He's going at a 229 pace. Jimmy Pritz must get that strike ball working from that outside line. He still has a possible 234, but he must get going now.
All but the 2 on the right lane for the man that won the first game with 8 strikes and a final score of 210 to Dean Asami's 160. Now, the winner of this second match will go against Big Mark Baker of Lake Tahoe, Nevada, then the tournament leader, Bob Handley. Let's isolate and play back the footwork of Jimmy Pritz.
As you watch Pritz with a 5-step delivery, very methodical, 5 steps, starts with a very short step, everything in good position. Now watch his slide. There's his 4-step. Now watch this slide, about a 3.5-foot slide, Chris, and the ball must be released in the slide. If you come to a dead halt, then try to release the ball, you don't get the proper lift, you pull it, jerk it. Pritz is in ideal shape, but right now he has to get some strikes going in this match.
There's a good start on the left lane for Jimmy Pritz. Right now in a 46-pin lead is 34-year-old Ray Shackelford bowling against Jimmy Pritz Jr. We'll be back. The PBA titles are tournament leader, the man that's Handley, now bowling out of Pompano Beach, Florida. From Fredericksburg, Virginia, Ray Shackelford. All right, we now have the opportunity to see how Shackelford will try to cover the split, the 310.
Once again, he's picking up a hard ball to go for this 310. The ball cuts right through the heart as Shackelford takes hardly no time on the approach at all. He has to go across the lane to knock them both over.
So, the man that's been striking has an open frame. Earlier, we talked with him about a former hobby, drag racing.
Well, I took up drag racing in the Air Force, and it's something to do, and I got involved into it. Me and my wife did pretty good, and eventually I got into a super stock, and one day blew the engine up at the track, and eventually it got too expensive to stay with, so we turned to bowling, and now I'm into bowling, and it's looking pretty good so far.
And he's really got his motor running right now, Chris.
He certainly has, Shackelford, and he spoke of racing. Well, the month of May is a big one for ABC Sports. Today, the Grand Prix of Monaco. A little later on Wide World of Sports and the Indianapolis 500 time trials. And later on next week, same-day coverage of the Indianapolis 500. Big month of May. Jimmy Pritz, who won that first match, running into trouble. The 4-6-7.
It's just about see you later for Pritz. That was a big shot for him. He could have cut that 32-pin lead down to just 22, but he's left it wide open. He's got to go for it.
So, coming in that near to the end 8th frame, now trailing by 44 pins.
Chris, I don't know about this changing balls back and forth, back and forth. We've seen it for the last couple of years on the Pro Bowlers Tour. We've seen just as many mistakes as we've seen good shots come out. But I think a player should learn to adjust his spare shot to his strike ball.
Very good comment, Bo. In fact, it was a question I was going to ask you. A trend, a fad, a psychological thing on the part of the player?
Well, I think a lot of the new players have begun to use the exotic bowling balls we have out today. We have polyester balls, we have hard rubber balls, we have urethane balls, and they don't learn all the hand positions and shots to accommodate the spares, and so they tried doing it by changing balls. That's the most difficult way.
Leaving the 6-pin on the right lane, and for instance, Bo, our statistician today, most recent winner of the Firestone Tournament of Champions, Joe Berardi, uses one bowling ball.
Well, that's the key. Joe has learned speed control, plus cut down the hook on the spares. Plus, you keep the same feel in the ball. This is a sport where feel is so important.
Okay, marking with a spare in the 9th frame, our leader of the second match, Ray Shackelford. The winner to meet, 6'4", 22-year-old Mark Baker.
Just needs 4 pins on the first ball, and he is a lock winner. So, Chris, he just has to keep it on the lane.
All right. So you're looking at our second winner of the day. His opponent in the second match, Jimmy Pritz, won the first game over Dean Asami, 210 to 160. Now Ray Shackelford against Pritz is the winner, and of course not yet the final score.
He'll be in the 220s with one more strike. An excellent start. This is the kind of scoring we expected.
So with Shackelford now moving up against Mark Baker in the semifinals, we have time to pause. It's the Houston Open in Texas, but we'll be right back with more action. And we have the Rolaids Tip of the Week with Nelson Burton Jr. today, a tip that you have enjoyed before. It relates to the backbone of bowling, junior bowling. So all of you watch and listen.
The Professional Bowler's Tip of the Week is brought to you by Rolaids.
On many of our professional bowling telecasts, Chris and I have talked about bowling being a sport for all ages. Today's tip is for the junior bowler, the young bowler who is not old enough to take a full approach or even strong enough to grip the bowling ball. Now, young Greg here does like many other young bowlers, rolls the ball down the lane without putting his fingers in the hole. Greg, let's see your style, partner. Nobody likes the gutter ball. Everybody likes success in bowling. And this is where you parents can come in. When you have a youngster who can't put his hands in the ball yet and use the finger and thumb hole to roll it down the lane and has to roll with two hands, show them how to balance the ball for a nice, smooth, equal roll on the lane. Now, all bowling balls are not equally balanced. What you must do is teach your child to position the ball so that it will roll between the thumb and finger holes. That way you get a nice, consistent, even roll down the lane. Greg, let's see your shot.
Hey, Tommy Lasorda. How do you spell relief?
For the Denver Open. After that, in Tucson for another $100,000 event, followed by the Southern California Open in Torrance, a week off, and then the Seattle Open, winding up our third PBT Spring Tour. And we are now ready for match 3 in the Houston Open. Stepping in, 6'4" Mark Baker, going against the winner of the last game, Ray Shackelford, who eliminated Jimmy Pritz with a 221 to 157. And incidentally, with Nelson's tip on junior bowling, Shackelford's opponent, Mark Baker, was the Southern California Junior Bowler of the Year in 1978. So those little folks move up and become pros.
And he's no longer your little folk when you see him step up on the approach.
Come on, baby. Come on, come on.
All right. With 8 strikes in his victory, with a wireless microphone on, you heard his reaction. Here he is, 6'4", 210 pounds. Former basketball player, attended Golden West Junior College. Qualified second, his first career appearance in the championship. Yes, got a little power.
Chris, he can be intimidating with his size and his power. He throws one of the best power-rev ratio bowling balls on the tour. Much like Joe Berardi, who won the Firestone, he has a lot of speed and a lot of revolutions without hooking it a lot, and that's what is really the most effective way to overpower the pins and still hit the pocket.
Okay, Mark grew up in California, but has since moved to Lake Tahoe, one of the scenic spots in all the world. Boy, that's an impressive double to come out of the chute after having waited in the wings. Here's Shackelford now. Heat put on him early, but he has a strike up. Now shooting in the second frame. He can tie it up with one here. And that is the situation in the semifinal, with the winner to be Crankin Bob Handley.
Shackelford goes high as our action line tracer on the right-hand lane here shows you the ball driving down between the second and third arrows. Not much hook. He keeps it in play, enters the 1-3 pocket. The 2-pin trips out to 4. It's an even match through 2 frames. Both players have a double.
Concentration broken for the moment. falling 4 pin. Let's replay that strike.
Back-to-back trip fours, but watch how late this one is. The 2 pin, the 3rd pin on the left-hand side of your screen. Watch it do the job. There it goes, the sideboard. Now it lays out, knocks out the 7. The 7 barely love taps that 3-pound, 5-ounce pin. A turkey.
Not quite as fortunate. Big Mark Baker leaving 4, 6, 7. Former basketball player. In Garden Grove, California high school, he averaged 29 points a game. Started bowling as a form of relaxation before basketball games.
And Chris, a good friend of ours, works for ABC, Kim Belton, I think convinced him of not playing pro basketball.
Okay. So an open.
Mark's father, who is the vice president of Security National Bank out in California, is an avid bowling fan and really follows his son's career, tries to come to every tournament he possibly can, and I'd like to see Mark have a good victory here, or at least a good showing in his first championship appearance.
This year he's earned just a little over $17,000. Not too much reaction from the 6'4", 210-pounder, but he loved that strike. Shackelford and Baker in the semifinal. We'll be back after the spring tour. First of 5 events. We're in Houston. We're in the semifinal game. Ray Shackelford, who won the previous game over Jimmy Pritz, 221 to 157, has a 25-pin lead here in the semifinal game against young Mark Baker. 4th frame, 3 in a row.
Come on, come on!
A 4-bagger in the semifinal.
Chris, the championship matches we've had in the last 2 years at Big Texan have been unbelievable. Remember David Houston, as he wiped out 4 opponents. He won by an average score of over 60 pins. So far, the scores today have been unbelievably separated, where both the players have lost by a total of over 110 pins. The matches have never been close. Amazing championship here. Ray Shackelford, 4-bagger working, has struck 8 out of the last 9 balls on this lane. Let's see if he can make it 5 in a row.
The concentration. String is broken, but he's satisfied that they didn't come up with a split, leaving the 6-10.
Shackelford going with a harder ball. He go across the lane for the 6-10. As you see, the ball's up high all the way. He never gave it a chance. He breaks up the split as he goes across lane for the 6-10. Look out.
Ever so close. So after 4 in a row, spare for Shackelford in the 5th frame, leading by 33 against Mark Baker, who can cut it by 10 with a strike here in the 5th. Uses all of the approach.
Fingertip grip, Chris. Powerful delivery.
Leaving the 2-5.
Drives right through the ball, but he just sent that wide. 2-5 spare. Mark's a good spare shooter for a young player, and notice he's going to use the same ball as he uses for strike. That's, in my opinion, the best way to do it. Keep the same feel. Let's see how he converts it. He'll go down the left side.
Fortunately, still standing, the 5-pin. We mentioned his basketball experience as you see that replay.
Chris, he just chops the 2 off the 5. The one drawback of the big hook balls and powerful ball that Mark Baker rolls is the difficulty of making spares, especially choppable ones. He's in real trouble, trailing by 45 pins through only 5 frames. We haven't had a close match yet today. 2
open frames. High hit, leaving the 6-10. His goal, he must have learned it from his financial wizard father, to be a consistent casher. That's the name of the game, isn't it, Nelson?
That is, and you see that 211 average he carries this year is 17th on the Pro Bowlers Tour list. And
shooting that spare beautifully in the 6th frame. still trailing by 45 as Shackelford of Fredericksburg, Virginia is back up. Spare in the 5th, now shooting in the 6th. And right in the middle, the 5.
The wall shot, he had the 4-5-7 standing, but the head pin went to the sideboard, drove out the 4 and 7, a simple spare to maintain a 44-pin lead.
Watch this grip.
The semi-fingertip grip for Ray Shackelford and the fingertip for Mark Baker. Standard grip.
So it's another spare for Ray Shackelford. And the crowd here at the Big Texan Lanes, I think Nelson with Shackelford leading by 44. We should congratulate the audience for coming out in this kind of bad weather in Houston.
At 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, as we were rehearsing, Chris, 3 tornadoes spotted 10 miles north of here. The weather
Has passed and cleared. Everything is okay, but still a big crowd for the finals of the Houston Open.
Come on, baby. Come on, please.
And the bowling ball answered his wishes. 44 pins, that's a good number, with a strike in the 7th frame. Shackelford and Baker back with more following this. Brawling Houston, Texas for the Houston Open. Mark Baker finished 2nd overall in the starting field here. He's having a tough time against Ray Shackelford. That high hit leaving the 3-6. If you just joined us, in the first game, Jimmy Pritz defeated Dean Asami 210 to 160. Then Ray Shackelford came on with 8 strikes with a 221 to Pritz's 157. And now Baker trailing by 46 pins. We'll try to cover this pair of pins. Does it successfully. Successful as a high school basketball player. We asked him why he decided to leave basketball and pursue bowling.
Well, I was a high school All-American in basketball. I went and played basketball in college, and I realized I had more potential in bowling. I maximized potential in basketball, and I thought I had a better chance in bowling. I don't regret it a thing.
And Chris, he told me, where's a 6'4" forward going in the NBA? And backwards is probably where. He made a wise choice.
There are days.
Well, Chris, it just amazes me that this pair of lanes, nobody can get it going except for one player every year. Here's Baker sliding by for the dinner bucket, the double wood spare. It makes it much more difficult with that double wood 8-pin in there, so he has his hands full just to stay 50 pins behind with 2 frames to go.
Mark Baker from the West Coast as Dave Houston, who last year performed so beautifully, another West Coast bowler. From Virginia, this is Ray Shackelford. Strike up in the 7th, now shooting in the 8th, seeking his 2nd win this afternoon. More important, a victory in this 2nd game would put him into the finals against Bob Handley. And a closer shot at the $13,000 first prize. Another 5.
The right-hand lane gave Shackelford a little trouble in the last match. He's moved deeper on the approach on the right-hand lane here. His ball's not quite cutting through, as we saw in the 6th and 8th frame, but he's made the proper move. He's keeping it in play. He's not beating himself. And look at that graphic. 300 games in a row age last year. Chris, he also had a 299. When he's hot, he's hot.
That was a tournament where there were 11 300 games. Dick Weber's establishment. A high 50-pin lead now by Shackelford, and he'll be shooting in the 9th frame. Loser of this match will earn $5,500. Jimmy Pritz, $4,500, and Dean Asami, $4,000.
Right now, Shackelford seems to have lost his concentration a bit, but he's got the match well in hand, Chris. And if he can convert this spare, he'll go against your guy, Hook and Bob Hanley, and have a shot at getting into the Firestone Tournament of Champions. Shackelford is not eligible. Hanley is.
Like there, again, the concentration. It was like the great tennis player, Yvonne Goolagong. She used to do a thing called a walkabout. In other words, playing brilliantly, and then all of a sudden, lapsing.
Well, sometimes it's difficult to stay ahead and run away from the field, but he has this match well in hand. Shackelford does. Baker with that strike in the ninth gives himself a possible 197. Shackelford has 194 through the ninth frame, so Mark kind of knows it's over, but he should give it his best shot here. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. He bowled great all week. And if he doesn't strike, there is no way, even with a pencil, that he can get into the championship round.
Finishing strong with that double, this 22-year-old professional. Well, we'll see more of him down the line.
Shaking his head, lack of experience. If he could have had those first 5 frames right back, he'd have made a match out of it. But Shackelford, with a 1 win under his belt and a championship round appearance in the Fairlanes Open, had a little extra experience, and in these tight match games under the pressure, it makes the difference.
3 in a row for the man whom we asked, what are your hobbies? He lists them, not necessarily in this order: basketball, reading, and girls.
And he's dropped basketball, I think, so he's got a lot of time to pursue the other ones, but he's going to get a good paycheck here. He can turn it over his pop and let him turn into a little extra money.
5,500 here. $5,500 leading the 10 pin, and he has shot a 196. Now needing 3 pins to assure a semifinal game victory is Ray Shackelford. And that, of course, would mean a shot at the title. His opponent would be Bob Handley. There is your winner. The first to win 2 matches this afternoon, as Jimmy Pritz won the first over Dina Sami, then Shackelford defeated
Miller, steady as ever, former champion and defending champion Houston, Bob Learn, Steve Cook, Steve Martin, Jeff Moran, Leo Grand up there, Gil Sliker, Steve Gilgim right out the top 24, and our statistician, Joe Berardi, who finished 25th, the alternate.
And they came from all sections of the country. As you see, the 1983 leading money winners. Earl Anthony, just over 100,000. Milton, so on down the line. Anthony also with the high average of the year at 217. Match 4, which means the championship game on the Professional Bowlers Spring Tour. Ray Shackelford now into the finals against our tournament leader, who had a birthday yesterday. Age 31, Bob Handley. There he is. Exciting player to watch, stalking as he moves on the approach to the line, and then with the big hook.
Chris, and I think you picked it out, he is peaking. This is the sharpest we've ever seen him in his career.
We have a wireless microphone on Bob Handley, the cranker. Big and strong at 6'1", 195 pounds, winner of 2 games this afternoon, 34-year-old Ray Shackelford. Leaving a 7 on the right lane.
This match, $5,500 difference between first and second, Chris, but much more for Ray Shackelford because it would be a trip to the Firestone where he's guaranteed a couple $1,000 for just showing up. A big match.
And it exempt him from the Rabbit squad, so it's a spare for Shackelford. Susan Shackelford, mother of Shannon Shackelford.
And his former mechanic when he was in his drag racing days is a super stalker. He said Susan and Ray put many of engines together.
Okay. Ahead, averting the split, 6-10.
The pressure of the championship match. He had been almost perfect through 2 matches on the left-hand lane. His first attempt here in the championship match is high. He never gave it any room.
Next week, we'll be in Denver for the finals of the Denver Open. Then Tucson. Pair of spares for the winner of 2 matches. Ray Shackelford, 221 to Jimmy Pritz, 157, and Shackelford over Mark Baker, 224, 196. Bob Handley has a strike up the first, now shooting in the second. He is our tournament leader. He has doubled. And in our audience today, because he's from Houston, lives here, another cranker of days going by, Hall of Famer Bill Lillard.
Chris, Bob Handley is as sharp as we've ever seen, and you picked it out as he's watching him practice. He looks ready, and with that powerful ball, when he can put it in a 1-3 pocket, nobody, and I mean nobody, in the sport of bowling can keep up with him strike for strike. He leads by 12 pins.
This former high school teacher, history major and graduate of Kansas State University. Count 'em, 3 in a row.
Looks like a mathematics major, Chris, as calculated as he is out there. You can sure see that maturity coming through as he's put it to Ray Shackelford in the match. 3 in a row for Handley. Shackelford 2 spares, trails by 22. But remember, he's averaged over 220 for his 2 earlier matches. Let's see what happens.
And the man that had 16 strikes on those 2 victories comes up with his first here in the important championship game. Still trailing by 22, can cut it to 12 in the 4th frame coming up.
You can see in that look and in those eyes, there's a lot of experience and moxie in Ray Shackelford. He will not lay down and die for Bob Handley. I'll be surprised if he doesn't throw this one in the pocket.
As you predicted, Bo. Boy, is he fired up, Ray Shackelford. We'll have more of this championship match, now trailing by only 12, Shackelford. For telecast, first of 5 here on ABC. We are in the final match. The tournament leader, Bob Handley, is meeting Ray Shackelford, who has won 2 games. Handley, of course, as the leader. This is his first. 3 in a row, 4th frame. And the 4-pin breaks the string.
Amazing power. In the 2nd frame, we saw him just down the line in the track area. But watch this shot. It goes all the way out to about the 6th or 7th board. Then that tremendous turn takes over, and it actually goes high. He sent it wide, and it still went high, Chris. He is playing the lanes perfectly. He's starting the ball in the track. He's got it all together.
With speed to spare. Marks with a spare.
Here's your guy, Chris. 5-step delivery, the stalker. You can see, look at that head and the feet just pounding right up to the line, cupped wrist. Now watch it at the bottom of the swing. This is the great leverage. Look at him drive through with that right leg, the pivot foot, and all the way through. Look at the wrist action, the best in the game right now.
Just like he's stalking game with the bow and arrow, but with the bowling ball today. Yes. He's fun to watch.
Only if you're not an opponent.
And this is a tough opponent, as you indicated, a 222 average on his 2 victories. And he has a double up. He's trailing by 11. He can cut it to 1.
Look at those eyes. He is not going to give this match away. He may get beat, but he won't lose.
And the former drag racer leaves the 10-pin on the right lane.
In those time trials from Indianapolis, Chris, the verse a little bit. A good friend of mine from St. Louis, rookie Kenny Schrader, passed his rookie test the other day and will be taking a shot at making the 33-man field.
Yes, with the rain out of last weekend, the scheduled first weekend of time trials. A 3-6 for Shackelford, who is a very tense 34-year-old. It's beginning to show now. This is his third game as we replay that last shot.
Just lost the shot. He started right at the 1-2-3 nose. He gets a break. It breaks a little bit. He has a 3-6 across lane. Needs to convert it.
Got a little jerky at the line now here in his third match. Not as smooth. But here is Bob Hanley shining that black bowling ball. Leading now by 14. Strike up in the 5th. Shooting in the 6th. And the double puts him out to a 24-pin lead as we take another look at his footwork.
Watch the footwork of Bob Hanley. He's got those arrows on his toes to line up his boards, and watch him at the foul line. Now there's his third step, his fourth step. Now watch his fifth step as he slides through. And watch that right foot and left foot. The left foot turns parallel to the foul line. No, the right foot turns all the way around. He could have fouled on the other lane, Chris. He puts it all into the shot. He leads by 24, double working 7th frame.
Three in a row for Bob Henley. And I can see a lot of the amateur bowlers along the way next week trying to crank it like Bob does.
And this is the key shot. He lost this one. This is the break he needed. He thought it was going to go high. When he was losing earlier matches, Chris, he'd get a split on that. He hung with it longer and longer. Look at apprehension on his face, and what a great break. He'll react to that one. That's the one. He thinks that's the victory shot.
Spare up for Ray Shackelford. Beautiful delivery, and of course, just what he wanted. A strike in the 7th frame, and right now it's 34 pins separating these two pros.
A competitive Ray Shackelford. You see him shake his fist at Hanley after that one, Chris. Turned right around to him. He wants to win this match. A lot of money at stake, plus the pride of winning a national pro championship. Very few people in the history of the game will ever go in the record book as a pro champion. But he needs this strike to stay in the match.
10-year member of the PBA, only his second full-time year on tour. Disappointed 4-pin.
Right now, Shackelford has dropped into a position where his best possible score is 225. Hanley going at a 239 pace. So Shackelford must convert to spare, get back on the strike line, and hope for an errant shot from Big Bob Hanley.
All right. Leading by 34 with the 3-bagger up, now shooting in the 8th frame. Our tournament leader, 31-year-old Bob Handley, now bowling out of Pompano Beach, Florida, native of Kansas. Fairway, Kansas native. Bob Handley is strung 4 now.
Your guy, Chris, and watch this reaction as he just drove the 6 into the 10. This is a weak 10 or a spare for anybody else. Watch this ball. What a perfect shot. Just let the ball tell the story. Watch the 6-pin. See him just lift that 6 right out of the channel and into the 10. That's power. Right now, Hanley going at a 249 pace, leads by 44 pins. It can be all over with a strike here.
Now after that beautiful camera shot, I like that.
Excellent. Told the story of the power.
Gave it a little body English at the line, but didn't help, leaving the 10-pin on the left lane. And the applause is for the fact that Bob Hanley, as he opened with a 3-bagger and he strung 4, but here in the 9th now he'll have to cover the 10-pin for a spare. That's Nelson Burton's speed.
It used to be. Took a lesson from Mark Roth, Joe Berardi on that shot. That is what Hanley has improved the most as Shackelford looks at the score sheet. The best he can do is 225. Bob Hanley just has to stay in the building. He's going at a 248 pace. Ninth frame.
Just one time, not enough, just once.
The voice of Ray Shackelford with the wireless mic. Winner of the Houston Open will get $13,000. Runner-up, $7,500. Carefully, smoothly, covers the 10-pin, but it was not enough as you're looking at the former high school teacher, history major at Kansas State University, Bob Hanley, winning his third PBA title, PBA member for 7 years. Striking the 10th, too late for the man that won 2 games with a 222 average. And there is the man that was a little better in this final game. We'll be talking to Bob Hanley, winner of the Houston Open. But first, we're going to take this break for this message. The cranker from Kansas with a big 248 to Ray Shackelford's 204. Ray, great with 2 wins, but Bob Hanley, you were too much in controlling that wonderful hook.
Yeah, I was able to control it today. I kept the speed up real well, and I didn't make any bad shots. And I figure I could win if I didn't make any bad shots, because usually I can carry more than everybody else when I hit the pocket. And Ray bowled a really good game, and I just got the breaks and he didn't.
Well, you're very gracious. And since you are, and since you're such a great bowler, Jim Self is president of the Greater Houston Bowling Proprietors Association. And Jim, I think you have the spoils of victory.
Thank you, Chris. It's a great pleasure to me from the Houston Bowling Proprietors to present you this check for $13,000 and for a wonderful week of bowling. Thank all your members.
And this trophy is a constant reminder. And since you are engaged to be wed, this will help. And it was your birthday yesterday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Let's all happy birthday, Bob here. Houston, Texas. The good luck charm always works. I carry 2 in my briefcase that 2 of her children gave me, and I know you carry one as well.
Yeah, I carry a good luck charm. Used to be my father's. Used to carry around with him, and kind of keeps me in mind with him.
I guess, and great memory. And if you're going to have a great spring, I can tell, Bob Hanley.
I hope so.
But that smile and that bowling game, you'll do it. A big victory, 248, for this man, Bob Hanley, right here at the Houston Open in a wet state of Texas today. Once again, that final score,